All right. Happy Sabbath. Today is August 24, 2024. And we are going to continue with our biblical foods series. This is going to take a while because the more I studied about the biblical foods, there's more that we can apply because it applies, it has been proven through medical science. The biblical foods that are healthy for us. All right. So this one is specifically about cholesterol and how to prevent the number one diseases of the world, and how to reverse it. All right. What's the number one disease in the world? Ischemic heart disease. Ischemic heart disease, number one. Even with COVID. Number one, it used to be number one is that, and is it getting better with all the technology that we have? No. It's getting worse. All the medicines, all the surgeries, all the stents, bypass grafts, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. Number two is strokes, which is the same disease actually. It's the same disease. But then when COVID came, so when you see the statistics, you'll see that COVID number two in the last couple of years. Okay, well, to study the biblical foods, we have to start from the beginning in Genesis, right? And it's first day of creation. There's a separation between light and darkness. The second day was water from the firmament, and then the third day was the water from the dry land. And then what was planted? We planted grass, and then grains, and then trees with fruits, right? And that was the food that was prepared. On the third day, food was prepared. Even when those who were not eating the food, it was to eat the food is to be created later, right? And then on the fourth day, it was, created the animals, right? And in the sea and in the air. And what were they to eat? What were the animals to eat? Grass. They were to eat grass. And humans are to eat what? The grains, the nuts, and the seed and the fruits, right? That's what the design food and in Eden. So we're going to do more about the grains and the nuts today. I think, I don't have, it's actually, I have to condense this a lot because there's so much information about it. And probably next time I'm going to do more about the vegetables and the fruits, right? But today is a little bit more about the grains and the nuts. Okay. But then God gave them, right, a commandment that they are not to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because on that day that you eat it, thou shalt surely die. Right? And if you break that commandment, you will surely die. And that's the wages of sin. That's the moral law. You disobey that law, you will die. Right? Okay. But the thing is that, we kind of forget also, what is also the consequence of sin? Is it just death? Because, when you read Genesis 3, right? What is the consequences of sin for the woman? She has to suffer labor pain, and then she has to be subservient to the husband. And what is the suffering for the man? Yeah, he has to till the ground, and he has to pull weeds, right? Because the earth is cursed because of their sin. That's the suffering that they have. But I like the part That's the so that's what they were given. That's the food that they were given, and they fell into sin. And because of they fell into sin, right away Jesus came down and gave them a promise, right? And then that's Genesis 3:15. That's the eternal gospel that I will come, and even though Satan will bruise my heel, as the Lamb of God that is bruised, my extremities will be nailed to the cross, right? I will crush his head. He will have to suffer. Yeah, he will die, right? And I will defeat death, right? Because I have died for you. Right? So that's the eternal gospel, the promise of the eternal gospel in Genesis 3:15. And as we know here, this is what they have to suffer, right? Genesis 3 verse 16 to 18. And then he said, thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat of the field. You are going to eat vegetables after you fall into sin. You have to suffer, but then you eat vegetables. Why? Because you have to suffer diseases. And then the vegetables is what's going to heal you from your diseases. Alright? That's pretty, you think that is a stretch, but it is actually not. Right? Okay. Now what God said, Jesus said, what through Ellen White in the Spirit of Prophecy. What God wants us to do is to return back to the diet that was originally given to man, which is fruit, grains, nuts, and roots. Right? Grains, fruits, vegetables, and nuts. He will teach us how to prepare wholesome food free from the taint of flesh meat. Right? So that's what he wants to. He wants to bring us back to the diet that was designed for us, right? And it includes also essentially the whole plant, right? The roots, the fruits, the nuts, the grains, and the leaves, and even the flowers. Right? We eat flowers too. The whole plant. Right? Okay, all right. It says, and then to Noah, you can eat all the vegetables, but make sure you do not eat blood. God gave our first parents the food He designed that the way it was contrary to His plan to have the life of any creature taken. There were to be no death in Eden. There's to be no death in the new Eden as well. God gave man no permission to eat animal food until after the flood. And why did He do that? Because it was a time of an emergency. There was no other food. And why did He also permit it? Because the long-lived race to eat animal food was to shorten their sinful lives. Soon after the flood, the race began to rapidly decrease in size and in length of years. Right there, Ellen White basically says, it proves that eating animals will make you shorter and also make your life short. Make you short stature and short span, right? Yes, your short span. Right. So then he had to have a reformation from them as they had to leave from Egypt, going to the land of Canaan. They already forgot all the things that they were taught there, what they were taught about what they had to eat, because they were in bondage in Egypt for a long time. But their travels out of Egypt is It's an ensample for us. And an ensample means a shadow. So if they are the ensample, then we are the real Israel. We are real Israel. We're the 144,000, really. Right? We want to be the 144,000. we have choice. We want to go to real heaven. The 12 tribes, they want to go to spiritual heaven. They're going to Canaan. That's spiritual. That's why they're spiritual. We are actually the substance. That's really scary. Because what happened to them, if we're the substance and we say, well, they're only a shadow of us, what happened to them is scary. Because this is what is happening to the substance. So, So they came out of Egypt and to Ethan and the Red Sea. And this is where I was come to this part where they had to be given the first health reformation that they had in the wilderness. Right? They came to Mara, which is the bitter water. And then the bitter water, God told Moses, throw in a tree. It's actually a tree, right? A tree. The whole tree. Yeah? Right? Because he said, if you obey all my statutes and my ordinances and you listen to me, I will not give you the diseases of Egypt. Right? Because I will heal you. And how do I heal you? With a tree. There you go. That's why vegetables is for relief of suffering of diseases. And I'm going to heal you with a tree. Yeah. Oh yeah, the barks, the roots, everything. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what are the diseases of Egypt? Egypt for them is spiritual. Spirit of Egypt. For us, it's the world, right? The bondage of sin. We are in this world. We are going to Canaan. We are going to heaven. Right? We have to leave this world. What are the diseases right now in the world? What's the number one disease? This is updated from WHO. This is most recent. Ischemic heart disease is still climbing. It's number one in the whole world. And before COVID, stroke was number two, which is actually the same disease. Right? It's just in a different location. Right? And so, you know it. It's the same disease, right? It's just it's in the brain. One is in the heart, the other is in the brain. Right? And COVID came up there. It came number two, But still, number one and two before, and then still, strokes and heart disease is continuing to climb, right? It's continuing to climb. Amazingly, Alzheimer's number 7. When we study about Alzheimer's, the risk factors of Alzheimer's is also high cholesterol, right? It's high cholesterol as well. Yeah. Right. Yeah. When you see, look at this, Alzheimer's, stroke, ischemic heart disease, and diabetes. Also, diabetes is also disease of lipids that saturates the intramyocyte. But heart disease, high blood pressure causes ischemic heart is a risk factor for heart disease and strokes, right? So you die. You don't die of the high blood pressure itself. You die of the heart disease, the heart disease and stroke. But stroke and heart disease, the risk factor, one of the biggest risk factors is actually high blood pressure. But the main cause is, Right? We'll study what the meaning of. Now this is in the whole world globally. Right? Now look at this is in the high income countries. Right? Ischemic heart disease is still climbing. This is what it used to be before. This is where it's at now. It's what it used to be before. It's still going up. Alzheimer's, even worse. Look at how much it actually advanced. This is amazing, right? This is, what it used to be before, and it's still going up. This is going up. Obviously, COVID, you don't have anything before, but this is new. But this is going up. This is going up. This is going up. In the middle to low income countries, COVID, all of it bypass everything. But ischemic heart disease, look, it's just going up, going up. All right. Yeah. So, ischemic heart disease. All right. Yeah. I just go into more into science now. Okay. So, what does ischemic heart disease start off with? If you go, this is a very busy slide, but it's a beautiful slide. I just love this. All right. Basically, what it starts off with, I'm going to have to go in. This is the lining of your blood vessel. It's one layer thick, one layer of what we call endothelium. Right? One layer of endothelium. And this has to be healthy. You have to keep this healthy because it has to be changed and the new cells have to be healthy. And what actually causes it to be ruined, become weak? Oxidative stress, right? Smoking, pollution, stress, high blood pressure, right? And when it becomes stress, there is a break. It starts to become weak and there's stress. And now LDL is what? It's to bring cholesterol, right? It's to bring cholesterol to your blood vessels, to everywhere throughout your body. It's trying to come in there and rescue it, It needs to make new cells to rescue it. But now LDL comes and it goes into under the lining here. And it activates these cells. And these cells, once they become activated, they become like foam cells. And it causes an activation of all the cytokines, all the inflammation that goes on inside there, right? Because of this cholesterol eventually gets deposited in here and causes there to become a fibrous plaque, and blood vessels starts to grow in here because of all the inflammation. So this is a disease of inflammation, right? It's a disease of inflammation. Right? All this causes inflammation, and it becomes a plaque. And because of this, the lining becomes narrow. Right? But is that what causes the heart attack? No, what causes the heart attack is when this thing ruptures. It becomes unstable. The inside becomes necrotic, and it starts to die, and this becomes unstable. And because the force of the blood is going in it, it ruptures. And then when it ruptures suddenly, the body needs to repair itself, so it starts clotting in that area. When it clots, what happens? You block the blood vessel. And that's an acute heart attack. Acute heart attack is when this actually ruptures. It's not right here, not the blockage is right here that causes the heart attack. It's this acute rupture. When it ruptures and it causes a blockage right there. This is actually a long time. Yeah, probably right here. This is very acute. This happens just like that. When you have a stroke or when you have a heart attack. This fatty streaks, what they did? I actually should put this up because it's very important. During the Korean War, when our soldiers were coming back from the Korean War, and they did autopsies on 18 and 19-year-old American male soldiers, they saw that their arteries were full of fatty streaks already. At 18 years old. It takes a long time, but it starts early, right? So what you eat way back then, you'll have to suffer from children, from your childhood age. Can you imagine at 18 years old, they're going to, they did autopsies on these young men, and they all had fatty streaks already. These fatty streaks were already in their arteries. But they didn't have their heart attacks until their 60s, you know. Yeah, now even younger, 50s and 60s. Years and decades later. So this is a long time. They become fibrous flat, and eventually their heart attack and strokes, you know. It takes a long time. Right. Yeah, when this is this low, what happens when the blood vessel is this compromised here? If you're just resting and your demand is not high, it will be okay, right? But what happens when you start running and you exert yourself? Then your demand is increased. You need more blood flow, but it's actually blocked. This is already blocked here. So the heart needs more. So that's what we call angina, right? And then when it's in your leg, we call that claudication. Claudication is when you know, I'm okay when I'm resting, but when I want to walk, oh, then I got like a target course, right? And I have to rest. So yes, you know, how long do you have to walk? You know, I used to be able to walk like 2 blocks. Now I can only walk 1 block. That's, they're at this stage already, right? Yeah. They're already, you know, that's in their heart. It happened in their heart when they have angina, when they exert themselves. You know, suddenly, the demand for it, right, is not kept by the supply. Right? I need more oxygen. The heart says, I need more oxygen. I'm trying to exercise here, but there's a limitation. It used to be down here. It used to be big, and the opening used to be big, but now the opening is small. But you haven't had a heart attack yet. Yeah, that's always a thing. That we always ask that when you walk through a mail. And people always say they can't, you have qualification. So this is what the plaque develops, right? This is the plaque. And it continues to build up. And then it suddenly ruptures. It becomes unstable because it gets big, unstable, and the force of the flow of it's high pressure. It's like when you squeeze a hose. That's the pressure becomes really high here, and because the high pressure, and it ruptures, and you get a blood clot. Well, the flow is this way, right? Then you get the blood clot. The blood clot is actually the body's, it's the body's defense. So oh, wait a minute, I gotta repair that, but because of the repair, you actually have a clot developing. Yeah. Right. It becomes, if it's in your coronary, in your heart, you have a heart attack. If it's in your blood vessel in your neck, you get a stroke. If it's in your leg, your feet become gangrenous. Well, actually, you can see there is actually a way to see it, right? There's a way to see it. We do angiograms, right? We do some CT scan, CT angiogram. You can see these actually become calcified. And on X-rays and even scan, we can actually see the calcifications in these blood vessels. And the next picture is, this is your aorta. This is the big vessel going down, and it splits, right? And this is the plaque. Look at this plaque. And this is the clot that develops inside of it. This is going down to your legs. Yeah. This is the big clot inside of it. This is all calcified. Look at how small it becomes. Yeah, it actually can balloon out. Sometimes it becomes weak and it balloons out. But anyway, this is what it actually looks like. And what if this blocks to down to your leg, right? This is the right, well, one of these legs. And this is one leg, and it goes down to the other leg. And it's blocked. And then they come with a cold foot. Chuck knows this, right? Every day, right? You got this cold feet. That sounds like a heart attack. And it is painful. Oh my. And it's cold. They just touch it. Oh, that feet is cold. And they are in pain. And this happens. All right. And we have another picture. I like these pictures. Look at this. These are the open ones. This is going up into your brain. This is the ones that are, look at those plaques. How much is going through there? These are all with Alzheimer's. On the right is the ones with Alzheimer's, and these who died without Alzheimer's. Can you imagine? Look at that. It has to do with, yeah. All right. Can you imagine? This, on the right, all of them had Alzheimer's. On the left, none of them had Alzheimer's. Can you imagine that? It has something to do with your diet, your cholesterol, your lipid level. Okay. All right. Yeah. Here, the ApoE. ApoE is the word of Alzheimer's. It's the genetic defect. It's Alzheimer's, and has something to do with the modulation of cholesterol. The lipids in Alzheimer's disease. Hypercholesterolemia is recognized as the risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. So let's see. How do you open this up? So when they said in Indonesia, they said, "Oh, you put a ring in there, right?" Yeah. Is it a ring? It's really not a ring. So you have this. It's a plaque. Remember, this is a plaque right there. Right? So they have this stent. Right? And this is stent. It's very small. Obviously, look at that small. And then they balloon it up. So it's on the outside of a balloon. And they blow up the balloon. The balloon goes whoop. So when the balloon is inside of this, and when you blow up that balloon, it becomes big like that. So it opens, right? You blow up the balloon, and it opens up. And you take this, you deflate it, and you take it out. So this is a stent. Right? This is stent. It just opens it up. Right? Well, this is the balloon. The balloon delivers it in there. Right? And the balloon is deflated. And then when you open up the balloon, it opens up that stent. They take out the balloon. See, the issue is that you think, okay, I'm going to have a stent. That's the end of my problems. Is it the end of your problems? If you don't change, it doesn't do anything. It just does it for that. And this is happening in every blood vessel in your body. In the other parts of your heart is also happening. This is not the end of your problems, It's just a warning that it can happen in other places unless you actually do something. Right? It's actually pretty common, but it's not really done outpatient, and it's got to be in surgical centers and it's hospitals because the risk of having a heart attack during this procedure is actually not low. Yeah, it's not. And having complications of this is actually not low. Yeah, but this is. Yeah. Yeah, you have to have backup. When you do these things, you have to have backup in case. That's other procedures. Yeah. It lasts a long time. It lasts a long time. As long as you don't keep that going. Do you think plaque can grow in between these things? Yeah, this can clot again. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So they have the devices. This is very high tech. I was saying this is very high tech. Yeah. So you have to be right. You're gonna get rid of it. Yeah. Then you start. Then you can have more restenosis. We call it restenosis. Right? Your issue is not. This is only temporary. This does not solve the underlying issue. Right? So this is absolutely. Right? Obviously, they have to give medicine for blood pressure, your cholesterol, your everything. Uh, you know, medications for your heart, your kidneys. They just start doing everything to control your problem. Okay. So this is my where we actually get our energy. Where we get our energy is from glucose and oxygen, right? We make water and carbon dioxide to get our energy, right? But then all this carbon dioxide is recycled by the plants with the use of the energy from the sun to make more glucose. So this is the cycle because animals and humans eat the glucose, use up the oxygen, and gain the energy. You gain the energy. And then you spew out the water and carbon dioxide, which just goes back to the circle. But then, obviously, God did not design us to eat these animals. Because to continue to make this circle, complete, we get our energy the source actually is from the sun through the plants, right? These are, we don't want to get it, we have to get it from the source. It has to become from the plants. So this is why the plant, and this is why we have to get our energy. But when we get our energy from animals, it is packaged in, cholesterol and unsaturated fats, and without any fiber, right? Without any fiber, without any antioxidants. Right? That's the issue. Because what we want is the package that is delivered with the plants, right? With the plants. This is the design of us, is actually to get our food and our nutrition, our medicines from the plants. Right? Okay. All right. Yeah. So now we're going to go into the grains. All right. So we go to the grains. We go to the Bible and it says, where are the grains first mentioned? I remember in the book of Judges, Gideon is like the barley. Right? Barley. Gideon is like the barley. He's like a barley loaf. And he's going to run over the Midianites, the Amalekites, and the children of the east. Right? And the story of Gideon is actually the story of the 144,000. 144,000 will have to eventually, during the 7 plagues, will actually have to overcome the dragon, the beast, and the false prophets. Right? Yeah. And the barley is actually a symbol of Christ, because the barley and the flax is the first fruits, right? Barley and flax is the first fruits. This is the first time grains are mentioned in the Bible. And this is why grains are so important, right? Grains are so important, but also wheat and rye. But the first fruit is flax and barley. So we're going to study more about going to flax and barley. But flax, this is the Ezekiel bread. What's the Ezekiel bread? Wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, spices. You make it into bread. That's the Ezekiel bread. And you can, they still sell it here? Yeah? Yeah. The Ezekiel bread. That's, and then obviously roots, Well, you don't use it, you don't use eggs to make that. Yeah, there's better ways to make it, right? Yeah, the flax actually has a lot of, yeah, but I think the flax has a lot of, flax has a lot of, good fats in it. All right. So, we're doing about the barley, all right? So, why is the barley so good? It's actually mentioned in the Bible, right? As part of the bread. Okay. Right. Well, where is the good part of the wheat? This is a wheat, okay. Yeah. The outer part is the bran. This is the germ inside. This is like the yolk. This is this is the yolk, and this is the egg white. Right? This is the endosperm. The endosperm is mainly carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, very little protein. Right? So where's the nutrition in this? It's in the bran because it has a lot of fiber. Right? 43 grams, and lots of iron. Right? The nutrition is actually in the bran. Right? So when you get white bread, it's processed bread. You do not want to eat that, or white rice, because you have lost so much of its nutrition. Right? And the germ, obviously, the germ has a lot of protein, right? And also the fat, also the vitamin B's and iron also. So the nutrition is actually in the germ and in the bran. Your calories, you get a lot of it from, obviously, from the endosperm, which is starch. Right? Which is starch. Okay. And the fiber, all right. You got hemicellulose and cellulose. The protein is, a lot of it is gluten. But a lot of people are allergic to gluten. Right? Yeah. You got B9, and you have a lot of antioxidants. And the fatty acids is mostly polysaturated, polyunsaturated, and monounsaturated. Only 24% saturated. This is what you want, a predominance of polyunsaturated and monounsaturated. That's the kind of fats. So you get your fats from the grains, but also your fiber. Right? Obviously, a lot of starch. Right? But there is remember, there's fats also in. So we go in the grains. Right? But also, what's very important is the fiber. Okay? All right. So these are the carbohydrates. Obviously, we always know it. The most one we think about is table sugar, which is actually sucrose. And sucrose is glucose and fructose. All right. Glucose and fructose. In whole milk, you have lactose. Lactose is a disaccharide, two sugars bound together, lactose and galactose. Galactose and glucose. Yeah. A lot of us cannot tolerate this, right? Cannot tolerate because we are lactose intolerant. Right? We cannot break this down. We do not have lactase to break down this. All right. Now compare this with it's the same sugar and table sugar, which is sucrose. But what's so good about this? It has the fibers, it has the antioxidants, it still has all the micronutrients, vitamins, and everything like that, right? When it's processed, you have taken out all those good things about it, and all you have is sucrose. So what you need is the package. You just don't want the sugar, you need the package of the antioxidants, the fiber, and the micronutrients and the vitamins. Honey is also, well, honey is actually processed, right? It's processed. But the sugar cane is where we get it, in the old days, mostly. But now, these days you have complex carbohydrates, which is maltose, which is glucose and glucose, which is from wheat, right? Rice, which is the complex carbohydrate is starch, right? Starch. And look at it's all bound together. It takes a lot of energy to break this down. It takes a lot of time to break this down. So that when you eat complex carbohydrates, your sugar is not broken down right away. It takes a long time. So the curve of the rise of your sugar is flattened, right? It does not spike. It's flattened out because all these bonds have to be broken to be absorbed first. And that's a low glycemic index. A high glycemic index, you eat it and right away your sugar goes up. Low glycemic index, it takes a long time. It does not spike. So you don't make as much insulin. You don't have. Yeah, probably you process it a little bit more, when you process it a little bit more, The thing about it is that glycemic index is first developed by Dr. Jenkins. And I didn't realize how important he was. He's a doctor, a British doctor in Canada. And he's the one that actually started teaching about glycemic index. You want to eat foods that is high in complex carbohydrates, right? Whole wheat bread better than white bread, right? So, brown rice rather than white rice, something like that, right? Okay. But these days, this is the high fructose corn syrup. And we want to compare it with the sugar cane, table sugar. Right? This is sucrose. Right? Now, how is high fructose corn syrup made? It's made from corn. This is expensive. And to get it in America, obviously, it's not, you can't get it here. You have to import the sugar from the sugar cane. But corn is cheap. So the motivation of making high fructose corn syrup is economical also because it is cheap. Right? And it's actually a lot sweeter. So you get the starch, which is all glucose, right? Which is all glucose. And you mix it with acid, you do a chemical reaction, you break it down. All these glucose molecules are broken down. In this, glucose plus fructose is actually still bonded. This is still bonded, but this has no bonds. It's all separate. In other words, which one has higher glycemic index? This one or this one? Yeah, this one, right? Because there's nothing, it's by itself, it's just going to go right into your bloodstream. This is much higher glycemic index. But then they said, well, we can't sell this because this is glucose and glucose. When actually sugar is what? Glucose and fructose, right? So they said, this is not natural. We got to turn it. So they invented this enzyme to turn half of this glucose into fructose. So now they got, okay, we got glucose plus fructose. Oh, you know what? It's the same like sucrose right here. Well, it's not really the same. Why? Because this has a bond here. There's a bond here. This one is free. Now this is called high fructose corn syrup. It is sweeter at a high glycemic index and a high amount of fructose. Right? And so much is sold in all your drinks, all your cakes, cookies, everything is made with high fructose corn syrup. Right? The problem is that so much of this fructose, is it used up for your energy? Fructose is not used. Glucose is used by our cells. So what happens to the fructose that goes into our body when we eat it at high times? It's stored as fat in our liver. Right? And that's how a lot of people get fatty liver. So many people get fatty liver. High fructose corn syrup. And this gastric causes increased fat inside your cells. and that increases your risk for diabetes, for insulin resistance. And look at this, when you want to look at it, it's right here. High fructose corn syrup. Read that stuff, this stuff is really, it's driven by economics of making it cheap, but very, very bad for your health. High risk of obesity, high glycemic index makes your insulin spike up quick and makes much higher risk of obesity and diabetes on this, and fatty liver. Right? So that's the sugar. And the reason why these drinks are so bad is because they do not have fiber. Okay? So we're going to go, why is fiber? Fiber is divided into two different fibers. The insoluble, in other words, it does not dissolve in water. Right? It does not dissolve. It's like cellulose, and it's like wood, like cardboard. Right? Yeah, drink cardboard. You want to drink cardboard? It's insoluble. Right? There's a soluble one, right? Always the blue red gluten, psyllium, pectin, in apples, psyllium, there's a psyllium seed, right? Xanthine gum, inulin, dextrin, soluble. Right? So this is cellulose. Look at that. We cannot break this down unless we're termites. Termites can break this down, right? They could eat. So this cellulose is part of the cell wall. Right? It's what makes plants rigid, because plants do not have to move anywhere. They just are rigid. Their cell walls are rigid because of the fiber. Fiber is what makes them rigid. There's the soluble, the insoluble, and the soluble. Right? This is what it looks like in the microscope. Electron microscope. And then the soluble one, what? It becomes like a gel, like glue, right? It becomes like a gel. When you eat it, it's actually more liquid, right? This is what you want, right? This sweeps your intestines, make you go to the bowel, you have a bowel movement that is not hard, right? As long as you drink enough water. Soluble fiber is very important. Soluble fiber is what actually fights against cholesterol, right? And then we're going to go into why. Right? So you have, if you have insoluble fiber, you need this, right? All these have a lot of insoluble fiber. Right? This is very important, right? Yeah. These have soluble fiber. This is insoluble, right? Right. Okra, oatmeal, peas, eggplant. This is psyllium. This is actually psyllium. Which is psyllium is actually, psyllium for the nurses, that it's made into Metamucil for constipation. You have yeah. It's a plant. This soluble fiber is very important because the hard-working what against cholesterol is a soluble fiber. Right? Okay, but eventually all of them have a different amounts. Some have more, some have less. These have more soluble fiber. These have more insoluble fiber. You need both, right? You get mixture. You have mixtures of soluble and insoluble fiber. You get plants. Does animal products, animal flesh have any fiber? No. That's the biggest thing. I have to teach that no fiber. Yeah. So you get it all from plants. All right. Okay. Let's look at some plants here. All right. Okay. This is wheat. Right. Look at the back. Well, the thing that I can see, look at the gluten. There's gluten there. Gluten, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Fiber, 10. Okay, let's compare it to flax seeds. Flax seeds is the king. This is amazing. Look at the fat. And the fats are the good fats, right? Omega-3s, the ones for the omega-3, is the good fat, flax seeds. Yeah. ALA is what makes for the omega-3s in your body. Right? And a lot of protein. Right? You need protein. Fiber, look at 27. Carbohydrates, 28. And it has a lot of phytoestrogens. Phytoestrogen flax is to fight against, it competes against your natural estrogens, which predispose a person to breast cancer. Right? And it fights against it's fighting against breast cancer. It also fights against prostate cancer. Right? The cancers that are hormonally controlled. Yeah. Yeah, it's not good. That's true, because it becomes more stale. And oil becomes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why you grind enough for about a couple of weeks and keep it in the fridge. Oh no, just use it coffee grinder. In a coffee grinder, or one of those food processing. Yeah, instead of using oh my. Yeah. But flax, you look at this, flax is like, wow, this is amazing. Now compared to barley, barley still has, for omega-3, protein is still pretty good fiber. But this is soybeans. Soybeans, protein. Protein is very high for the beans. Okay. Carbohydrate, nice thing about it, it's low in carbohydrate. But the protein, very good. We're not going to do too much about the protein, but the fiber is what we need. Right? White rice, look at white rice. No fiber, no fat, protein, very low. Well, obviously no glucose, carbohydrates, oats, and oatmeal. And you have fats. The protein is 13, not bad. And fiber, 10. So, if you want to have your breakfast, make sure you have it with oats and flax seeds. Right? And also use some soy milk in there. You're going to get a lot of protein. You get your fiber, right? You'll get your fat, the good fats. Right? And this is why, and your phytoestrogens, what you need, the good fats. Good fats is what we're going to go into why it's so necessary. Right? Okay, this is just a comparison. Oh, brown rice. And people ask me, hey, wait a minute, why did you put brown rice? Okay, brown rice is better. It has more fat, more protein, right? It has more carbohydrates, but it has a lot more fiber. Right? White rice, really, wow. You have a lot better choices with brown rice, right? Barley, oats. But if anything, you want supplement it with flax seeds. Okay. All right. While the precise mechanism of action of soluble fibers has not been elucidated, the most prominent mechanism is due to the ability of soluble fiber to form a viscous matrix within the GI tract that impedes cholesterol. So this soluble fiber makes into like a gel, and that prevents cholesterol from being absorbed, right? So the soluble fiber is one that you want to get as much as possible to reduce the cholesterol absorption into your body. Right? Okay, this is, because that fiber fights against cholesterol, right? And, obviously, this has no fiber and has a lot of cholesterol, right? Compared to that, right? Which has a lot of fiber, soluble and insoluble, and No cholesterol. Oh, I gotta get a different graphic. Okay, so this is the mechanism, right? You eat food that has no fiber and a lot of cholesterol and a lot of saturated fat, right? You chew it and the fat goes inside your stomach. And when in this stomach here, it will actually go down, right? It will go down into your small intestine, right? Go into small intestine, it's broken down already. Right? But fat, can it mix with water? No, it can't. It stays in a different layer. You know, to be able for it to be absorbed, it has to be mixed. It be able to become very small and mixed with water so that it can be absorbed. So, you know, when you have fat and some protein in your stomach there, you know, it will send a signal to your gallbladder with an enzyme called cholecystokinin, right? It causes, hey, you know, gallbladder, you know, send us some bile. So this bile goes down and mixes in your small intestine for this to be broken down, right? So then it makes into this mycel, you know. So this is the bile. The bile salt is on the outside, and this is soluble in water. But this is the fat is saved inside and becomes very small. Right? This is a very tiny particle. The fats are inside. The fat and fatty acids and cholesterol. Right? It's broken down and it's protected in these called micelles. And this can be absorbed. Okay? These micelles here, right, will put a marker on it. Right? Put a marker and it gets sent into your system. And this it is termed VLDL. But anyway, right? It's sent to the inside your body so that your cholesterol and your fats can be absorbed. And it goes into your system and then it becomes LDL. First it's VLDL and then the liver changes it into LDL. It's sent to the rest of the body by this LDL. LDL sends the cholesterol into your body for repairing of cells, to make it and to store it. And unfortunately, it gets also in your blood vessels. When your blood vessel has some damage into it, that's when the LDL starts getting into there and start building up and causes cholesterol plaques. And that's why LDL is the bad cholesterol, because it saves up inside your fat and it causes plaque into your arteries because LDL sends it from the liver to your body, right? And it builds up into your bank. Your bank is, I call this your bank, right? It's your bank is your all your fat in your belly, right? And the fat inside your muscles, the fat in your arteries. That's your bank. It builds it up in there, right? But then it's also taken out. The cholesterol is taken out by HDL, right? Your cholesterol is taken back to the liver by HDL lipoprotein here. That's why HDL is the good cholesterol, right? Because it takes the cholesterol out from your bank, right? From your body, where it's being used up for your body and it's being stored and it's causing problems with your coronary arteries. It's actually taken it back to the liver. And what happens to the cholesterol that is made into bile acids? So you know what? It goes into a circle. This goes around in circles. Goes into a circle. You know, cholesterol just goes in, goes out. Absorb in and out. It just goes in circles. My weapon is it goes into circles like this. This is the enterohepatic circulation. You go. Cholesterol just goes into circles, right? So a lot of it is used up and reabsorbed, and goes up, used up and reabsorbed again. Sorry. The problem is that if you keep adding to this circle, this just goes in circles. But if you keep adding to it, then the bank gets full because you keep eating here. It doesn't go out that much. It just keeps eating to it, and your bank gets full and full and full. Because this comes in circle, it gets reabsorbing. It gets reabsorbed and fills up the bank, right? Your stomach gets used up, but you keep adding to it, and eventually your bank gets full, right? Yeah, the gallstone is basically cholesterol that becomes so concentrated in there that it becomes crystallized. Cholesterol. So, well, it's saved up in there, so when your body needs it for when you eat. Because when you eat fat, you need fat to dissolve it into these micelles. So, you need to eat fat for the gallbladder to send out bile, right? So, you look at this. Once you start understanding this, you will know how it will. What do you have to do to reduce your cholesterol? You need to get it out. How do you get it out? Okay, that's how you do it. Okay, then now let's see. How do you get it out? Right? Because it just goes in circles like this. Right? First, you cannot keep adding it. Right? First, right? You can get rid of it, but you can't keep adding to it. So you gotta reduce the amount of fat, bad fat, and cholesterol, right? Where does Lipitor work? Lipitor actually blocks the formation of the making of cholesterol in the liver. Right? You make the liver making cholesterol is blocked by Lipitor. Right? Yeah, it's blocked here, but it doesn't reduce the amount going in. Right? Going in, it does not reduce this going in. It is blocked. It blocks this. It blocks the production of cholesterol in the liver. Right? That's where Lipitor. Alright. Okay. Yeah, let's see this, right? So when you eat, it goes in, you take the fat, it goes in there, right? When the fat goes in there, now the fat has to be in your stomach for some time, and it has to be some bulk. And mixed with protein, that stimulates your gallbladder to contract to send down the bile, right? The bile gets sent down to mix with the fat, right? And make this globs up, yeah, so that eventually you can absorb it, right? And then when you absorb it, right? Now this fatty acid that's in the bile, right, gets absorbed, goes back. The fatty acid just goes in circles, goes here and it keeps going in circles. Most of the fatty acid is reabsorbed, 95% of it. Right? It gets reabsorbed. Cholesterol goes in and out, but the fatty acid just goes in circles. It's conserved, you know. The thing is that we just can't keep adding to this, right? The goal to reduce this is to cut off this reabsorption, right? So when you cut off reabsorption, your body needs to keep making this, and it keeps making this, right? When you keep absorbing this, not much goes out. Only a little bit goes out. A lot of it just goes in. Yeah, only a little comes out. All right. So what you need to do is reduce this absorption. You need to reduce this absorption. So that way, when the cholesterol goes out, because bile is made from cholesterol, it comes out. And when this is not absorbed, what happens? It goes out. Right? When you reduce the absorption here, all of it goes out. Right? Okay, so this is how it goes. LDL, and this is your bank, and it goes up. This is your bank also. Right? This is not good. This is what you want. This is not good. This is what happens. And only a little bit comes here. You keep adding to it, so you're more and more and more get up into your bank. Right? Yeah, the big bank account, yeah, to reduce. So, okay. So let's look at cholesterol, all right? This is cholesterol. There's a lot of science here. This is cholesterol, right? Cholesterol, this is the cell. This is our cell. And cholesterol is inside here. It's inside here. This is what makes our cells flexible. Cholesterol makes our cells flexible. Because we're not plants. We don't stand still. We move, right? Cholesterol what makes flexible, right? And cholesterol is needed to make bile. Very important. It makes steroids. It makes hormones. It's very important. We cannot live without cholesterol. Our body makes about a gram of cholesterol every day. What we don't need is to add more to it, because if we add to it, and then we're just building up in the bank, right? The body makes enough of it. You don't have to add to it, right? Now, what about in the plant kingdom? What is the corollary of cholesterol? Phytosterol. This is cholesterol. This is phytosterol. What's phyto? Plant. Plant sterol. So the first person that actually found out what cholesterol is, they found out in gallbladder. Gallbladder stone. They go, oh, this is from a gallbladder. That's cholesterol. That's from the gallbladder. What day you were asking about that? When they found out about cholesterol, because they found it in gallbladder stones. And that's why it's called cholesterol. But if it's in the plants, it's called phytosterols, right? It's phytosterol. And you have cytosterol and cytostanols. So sterols and stanols. Look at this. It's basically the same thing, except for this. Cytosterol and cholesterol is only different by 2 carbons. Just this changes it into phytosterol, right? Cytostanol is different from this by just a double bond right here. This is a double bond. There's no double bond here. This is so similar, but it's also part of the cell wall of the plant. Now look at this. Is we don't have what we call a cell wall like the plants, right? It has fiber. And this is the insoluble fiber. This is cellulose. But there's also the insoluble fiber, which is here, right? This is what makes the cell wall of the plant so rigid, right? But inside of it also, in here is the plant sterols inside here. Because here, in our double layer here, is also the cholesterol. Here is the plant sterol. So we want this plant sterols. Why? Because it's so similar. So what does it do? It competes against cholesterol. So when you eat the plant sterol, it competes against cholesterol, right? What is used up that used to be for cholesterol, now the plant sterols, your competition. You're providing competition for absorption, right? All right, phytosterol, right? It's the sterol, right? Okay. Yeah, become stone. Right. Yeah, become stone. Right. So LDL and HDL goes this way, right? And you build up in here. Let's say, what if you eat a lot of plant sterols, right? This has a lot of plant. Obviously, this has. Does it have any cholesterol? There's no cholesterol. But what kind of sterols does it have? It has phytosterols. Phytosterols and stanols, right? Sterols and stanols. This is the competition for cholesterol, right? This is what you want. But also, what does it have? Fiber. What kind of fiber? Soluble fiber. Soluble fiber. Then soluble fiber everything gets gummed up in that soluble fiber, right? And you're providing competition against cholesterol and everything, right? So when you're eating this, you do still have some fats because you have good fats. And when you have good fats, it also signals your gallbladder to contract, right? So when you eat, you do still have to eat fat. But what kind of fat do you want to eat? The healthy fats, right? The unsaturated, right? You gotta get unsaturated, mono-unsaturated fat, polyunsaturated. You don't want the saturated fat. You want the unsaturated fat because it can still trigger your gallbladder to contract because you want your gallbladder to send down more bile acids because that's cholesterol is being made to, you're using up more cholesterol when you're sending down more, right? So when it goes down, this also goes down, right? You're using up more of this cholesterol to make this, right? Yeah, they only keep making it, but they don't have their reserve for when they need it for the food, right? Yeah. So now this is the bile acids, right? But inside of it is a lot of plant sterols, right? Instead of cholesterol, now it's green, completely green. Now you get the plant sterols inside of it, right? And now you got your viscous fiber, your soluble fiber, right? And so what happens? Then all this is actually gummed up in that soluble fiber, right? And it's competing against to go inside. This is not very absorbed. Though your body says, what the heck is this? This is not cholesterol. We don't need this, right? So a lot of it is flushed out, right? And when it flushes out, what does it also flush out? The bile acids. The bile acid is flushed out. So the bile acids that is made in the liver is used up from your bank. Your bank makes bile acids, but instead the bile acid is flushed out also, right? Because the stanols actually is not very much absorbed. Even though it's absorbed, it's also dumped out again because the body doesn't really use it. Right? And this soluble fiber, binds a lot of this cholesterol and it's dumped out, right? So now a lot of it comes out. Because of it, only a little bit of LDL goes in. A lot of it is flushed out. Because now you have reduced the amount of reabsorption, right? So this bile acids now goes out, right? And a lot of the cholesterol, whatever cholesterol in, goes out. Right? So little goes in, but a lot comes out. So what happens? This is when you have monounsaturated fats, and then you have the soluble fiber, and you have the stanols, and here's the stanols, and the phytosterols, right? More of it is pooped out. More of it is excreted. Absorption is diminished, such that LDL is diminished, and HDL keeps using up. You need to continue making, the liver needs to continue making bile salts. So you keep using up your bank. Your bank that used to be like this is being used up. You get less and less and less. Right? Because the absorption is less, then the excretion is more. And how is it excreted more? Because you have competition with stanols and sterols. This binds it up. And your fatty acids, you use the fatty acids that you use that triggers coming out is the good fats, not the bad fats. Here's, well, there's the eggplant here. So that's why you still have to have a fatty food, but you have to have the good fats. And how do you get the good fats? Avocado has good fats. Nuts. That's why the nuts is important to eat every time, right? So when you eat food, you have to have the good fats, because that good fat, what does it do? It stimulates your bile to be produced. And when your bile is produced, it's being bound up by the soluble fiber, right? and it's excreted out. So you use up your bile, it does not get reabsorbed, it gets flushed out, and you're using up your bank, right? So using this, right, decreases the absorption. Yeah. Well, actually, yeah. Almonds and walnuts is better, right? Almonds and walnuts is better. I should change this into almonds and yeah, yeah. Actually, what is better? I should change this to plant nuts. I mean, sorry, tree nuts. So what you need to do is increase amount of your tree nuts in your diet, right? And you have to increase the amount of soluble fiber, but you have to increase amount of your phytosterols. Right? Now the problem is that when we eat the kind of diet that we eat, we only get a small amount of phytosterol. It's only like 200 to 300 milligrams. Right? What they found out is you need about 2 to 3 grams of phytosterol to compete against your cholesterol. So, yeah. So I'll do this, okay? Right. This is the study that they've done, and I have many more of this, but I can't keep. There's so many studies that already have proven how much nuts you have to use, how much sterols you have to use, how much soluble fiber. They look at this, right? The dose. How much sterols do you need? You need, if you just eat a regular diet, you only get about half a gram. But to get the best effect is around 2 to 3 grams of sterols, right? To reduce your LDL, the maximum effect, right? The maximum effect. So that's why you have to get supplements. So in the last 3 weeks, I have now eaten with every meal that I take supplements of phytosterols, as well as increase my consumption of good tree nuts, walnuts, almonds and walnuts. This is what I like. I like almonds and walnuts. You can't eat too much of it. They actually have recommended how much you eat. Because why do you need your fat, the good fats? To stimulate your gallbladder, to produce those bile acids, to reduce your bank, because those bile acids, if you keep making it and it gets flushed out, it reduces your cholesterol from your bank. So this is the amount. Oh yeah. Well, patent nostrum is totally different. Patent nostrum is totally different because the kind of things that they use, which is called patent nostrums, is actually arsenic and, there's all kinds of other things that they actually use. Now, this is actually plants. The supplements is actually plants, right? It's actually from plants, right? Oh yeah, absolutely. Because patent nostrums is actually what they actually used in the old days as arsenic, lead, and all kinds of other, totally, unscientific. This is no, absolutely, yeah. Because this is you actually get about half a gram. But if you already have cholesterol problem, I have a cholesterol problem. Can you believe it? I'm a vegetarian since birth. And my cholesterol is not good. What? How could it be? Yeah. So I have to figure out exactly why what can I actually do, right, to get that number down. So now I'm increasing my phytosterol and Stanols level, intake to at least 2 to 3 grams. Get it up here to reduce, the inhibition of intestinal absorption of exogenous, which is dietary, and endogenous biliary cholesterol is the main underlying mechanism of cholesterol lowering effect of plant cells. So how do you want to reduce? You block the exogenous dietary, right? And endogenous biliary cholesterol. right? You have to block it, right? And how do you block it? With it's competition with your phytosterols, and you bind it with the soluble fiber. That's very important. This is this, and they've proven it. They've proven it, right? So what you do, what happens if you take some phytosterols once a day at breakfast, right? The number of studies, you reduce your LDL by 4.9%. Because some people don't eat that much at the time of breakfast, and they don't have as much fatty foods. But when you add, when you eat supplements, this stanol and sterol, or with your other meal, right? You reduce it, your LDL cholesterol goes down by 7.6%. 7.6%. But if you eat it with basically more than once a day, if you eat a lot of sterols with all your foods, you could reduce your LDL by 9%. They think about 10%. So if your number is 200, with just increasing your sterols, you reduce it to 180. Right? 180, yeah. From 200, no, if that 10% is down to, yeah, from 200 you go down to 180. That's just by sterols. So that's, this is what happens. So so you see it that you basically have to increase amount of sterols that you eat with every food, every time you eat. And this is what happens when you eat a plant-based diet for 32 weeks. This is what it looked like in the beginning. This is with just plant-based diet here. It opens up without a stent. Yeah. This is what happens. 80% blockage in July 2017. In 3 years, it's like, right? It opens up. This is not even using medications. This is just plant-based. You actually reverse it. So when you're still progressing, it means you're still doing something wrong. There's some improvement that has to be made. Yeah, I probably should have that, but I don't have it. But the one that actually made this diet is called the portfolio diet. Is Dr. David, his name is Jenkins. He's the same doctor that made the glycemic index. He is a British doctor in Toronto. Right? So he goes, a portfolio diet is a way of eating that evidence has shown. And there's multiple studies that has shown the reduction of LDL and cholesterol. Multiple studies. Instead of focusing on what you can eat the portfolio diet. Because the portfolio diet is not just using Stanols. It's also using the soluble fiber and the plant protein, right? So there's the, right? So, okay. You have to increase eggplants, chickpeas, it's actually veggie burger, almonds, soy milk, right? The portfolio, and walnuts, what is that? Yeah, plant sterols, right? Margarine, right, yeah. There is a type of margarine that is fortified with plant sterols. Yeah. Yeah, they actually fortify it. Yeah. But the issue is that you have to have some fat to be able to stimulate the production of the flow of your bile. That's why you eat nuts. Right? Yeah, that's why you eat your nuts. Right? Research has shown that medication diet does work because it works at different levels. But you don't have to use medications. Because when they did the randomized trial of this plant-based diet, using lovastatin, it's the first generation statin, and using this, it basically was 29, it reduced their cholesterol level the same, LDL, goes down 30%. With this diet, it goes down 30%. Using statins, same. Basically 29%, no difference. Without side effects. Without side effects. Yeah. So here we go. The portfolio diet is exactly as it sounds. It takes a few dietary patterns that have been shown, it's already shown in multiple studies to lower cholesterol, and puts them together. So you have 4 pillars of the portfolio diet. And that's why it's a portfolio of different strategies, right? You invest in one pattern, and then some of them or all of them. You don't have to do all of them, one at a time, because your palate has to change into this type of diet, right? So this is exactly how you do it. Nuts, 45 grams a day, right? 45 grams, all kinds of nuts, right? Plant protein. They like actually soy protein because soy has the highest amount of protein of all those grains. Of all those, protein has the highest bang. Soy has the highest concentration of protein, right? And viscous sticky fiber, right? And these are the viscous sticky fibers, right? Okra, apple, psyllium, yeah. But you have to have a lot of water with that, because otherwise you're going to be bound. Yeah. Oh no, but it's very good. It's very good. It reduces your. These are the kind of food you have to start adding more and more of this. But this you can do it with diet, obviously. But nuts, you have to increase your amount of nuts because we know specifically it actually stimulates more production of bile acids, which will use up more of your cholesterol. But then you bind it up with the viscous fiber so that the bile is not reabsorbed. It gets flushed out, right? And the plant protein, it binds, right? It also stimulates bile acid removal. And then the plant sterols is to bind it. To get 2 grams a day, you do need to supplement, right? 2 grams a day. You do have like the plant blank oils, Yeah. Here you have to make sure, these are the portfolio of these 4 the pillars of the portfolio diet, And this has been proven. And now it hasn't been out that long, so it's not as popular as like the Mediterranean diet or the DASH diet. Everybody knows about that, but this actually reduces. And it reduces, if you do all of this, this will reduce it by 5 to 10%. If you do this, it'll add another 5 to 10%. If you do this, add another 5 to 10%. If you do this, add another 5 to 10%. And overall, you'll reduce your cholesterol LDL 30%. This has been proven already multiple times. But then you can't eat high cholesterol diet and high saturated fat diet. But when you do all of that, this has been proven to be just as effective as taking first generation statins. And it was developed in the University of Toronto, and it's now a part of the Canadian Cardiovascular Society as a recommendation. It's an official recommendation. Jenkins, his name is Dr. David Jenkins. And this is the portfolio diet. So I just want to end up with this, right? What is it that is going to heal you? What is it going to heal you that is going to be your medicine? What is it that's going to cure you, heal you from your disease? The vegetables, the tree, and the leaves, right? And this is, when I start seeing I'm incorporating this, I'm going to prove it, that is going to reduce my number. It is. So, I think next time I'm going to basically, do a little bit more of this. I got to clean this up a little bit more for presentations. But also, how does the protein, why we need the good proteins in it and the good fats, right? What kind of good fats in it. But we've touched about the soluble fiber because it binds, right? Binds up with the cholesterol. It also binds with your bile acids, which is made out of cholesterol. It binds up and dumps it, flushes it out. Your stanols and your phytosterols, they compete against cholesterol, and it gets all flushed out, right? So all of this, if you even do that, you'll reduce your, 15 to 20%. But if you do all four of them, you could potentially increase it even to 30%. It's very good. Oh, there's gotta be a lot of soluble. It's gonna flush out your bile. Because the detox is also basically trying to detox. You gotta flush everything out from your liver. Because the other thing about it is also, what you need to do is to be able to stimulate your gallbladder to flush out, which is detox, right? Flush out your bile acids. You have to have a certain amount of bulk. That's why the fiber. You have to have a bulk, and you have to have it sitting inside your gut there for some time for it to work. You can't just eat, something that will just go right through. It's not. You need to have time, and you have to have bulk, and you have to have the good fats, which stimulates cholecystokinin and secretin to make it. So all the principles put together will actually work, to reduce. But the thing about it is, we know a lot of these things, but to know the exact details, to be able to actually apply it and actually teach others, I think it's going to be very crucial, very important. All right? And that is a more short word of